everyone, and today I'm going to be showing how to do a watercolor map. I did about 80 of these at one point, and I haven't done one in a long time, and I think it's a really great introduction into wet and wet watercolor painting. Okay, so first of all, what you're going to want is the outline of the map which you choose. I've chosen Switzerland for this. Now, there are a few ways you can go about getting the outline on there. You can freehand it, which is what I've done with most of them, or if you want to save time, you can basically use your laptop or computer as a light box. So you will just trace it on a spare piece of paper, then copy it onto carbon paper, which has a transferable carbon side, and you draw over it and it transfers the carbon onto this. The thing to watch out for with that is that be careful when you're pressing down, because after a certain point this will not erase, and you know, if you press down on it, be careful because it will also show up your fingerprints. So to get started, what I do is I have my palette here, I have my water, I have my brushes. I probably will not be using half of these. Just use whichever brush you like. Whichever brush you feel comfortable with. I am spritzing this. This is just a water bottle. I'm spritzing my palette. Okay. So, the way I start off is I'm not going to do a complete wash. What I will do is I'm going to outline the areas in water of where I want the pigment to go. So if you keep in mind, anywhere where there is water, that is where the pigment will flow. Okay? And so what I'm going to do is, I don't want an even wash of this, so I'm not putting the water everywhere. I don't know if you can fully see. I'm just placing it. I'm not being delicate. I'm not being precise is the better word. Okay, so some patches don't have water and some patches have large amounts. Now, thinking of Switzerland, I think of The Sound of Music. I think of blue, green, fresh, vibrant, and that's what we're going to do. I'm actually going to try and do something kind of abstract, I guess, like not a literal landscape, but a very suggestive landscape. So I've added a little bit more water because I see it was soaking in. This paper is a Strathmore block, by the way. I got given it a long time ago. I don't know if they still sell these. I'm going to go in with a cool blue. This is a Cobalt Blue, and I think this is what I'm going to go with first. So if you notice, anywhere I've put that pigment, anywhere I've put that water, that pigment's going to flow. So if you see this, I didn't put the water here, the pigment's not gone there. And I know a lot of people always say you can't control watercolor, and for the most part, I agree. Sorry if you hear a bit of background noise, there's the children. Okay, so I've gone in with Cobalt Blue. I'm going to get a little bit of, this is a French ultramarine. If you don't want the paint to run as much as it does, put more pigment, so load up your brush with more pigment, and the more pigment that's on your brush, it will stay where you want it to stay. So if you notice, that's not run very much because it's pure pigment, almost just like pure out of the tube. What I'm trying to do with this is I want to make it almost look like a landscape. But I don't want to get, like I said, I don't want to get too literal with it. Okay, now here, there's some granulation happening. I'm finding it a little bit boring. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop in some water. Like this. I'm happy with this portion right now, so I'm gonna leave it. And that's the trick. Once you get your initial wash down, leave it. If you're happy with it, leave it, don't touch it. Okay, I'm gonna go against what I just said because I want it darkened up here a little bit. All right, but leave it. And now I'm gonna let that dry. What I'm gonna do here, I'm adding water again to the bottom part of the map. I am not letting it touch the water up here because in this bottom section, I'm going to go in with the green. And I don't want the green to go up into this portion of the sky because I like what's happening here with this bloom. So I'm going to keep it, I'm going to leave that. Just keep in mind, anywhere that you, again, I said this earlier, anywhere that you put the water, that is where the pigment will flow. And you've got to be careful that you don't want that touching that unless you want it there, of course. Okay, for the bottom, I want a fresh looking green. So the colours here that I'm using, this is quinacridone gold. This is actually one of my favourite colours. I think this is a staining colour, so be careful with this because this will run everywhere, the quinacridone gold, and it spreads very fast. And I'm also using a Viridian hue. With the green. Go a bit more in with a stronger bit of Viridian. It's a beautiful colour, Viridian hue. In a lot of pictures I see trees and I see mountains. I don't know if I want to put in some mountains. I don't know how that will look because again, I don't want it to be too literal. Let's see. I've got some purple already here. And I'm adding some neutral tint. Let's see how this goes. Okay, so I just dragged that. I've dragged that across, as you saw. I'm gonna try and get them to blend. Now this might work out well, it might fail miserably. Now see, the green is running into the mountain here, and I don't want that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to blot that out. Blot that out. Now with this, I want to add some trees. I want to add some fir trees. This brush carries too much water at this point. I'm going to use one of my favourite brushes. It's really cheap Blick, so it's amazing for doing foliage. I'm just flicking water onto this. In fact, I'm just adding it to the top right there. Okay, so to mix the foliage for the trees, I am going to use Viridian hue. This is too weak to go in here because there are a lot of areas that are still damp, so we need to make this wash stronger to go, if it's going to go back into the wet. So I go back in with the Viridian hue, get some French ultramarine, and there we go. Okay, so that's going to be the dark. I'm actually just going to go right in with that, I think. So I'm holding the brush like this to get to benefit. as Bob Ross would say, let's add in another happy little tree. This needs to be darkened. Now I'm going to mess it up. I want the colour running. Add some yellow. Now you could add to this if you like. I am pretty happy with it. I'm gonna let it dry and then see how I feel. I'm gonna sign it. I feel like I'm done. It's 2018, Switzerland. I'd actually love to see your paintings. If any of you try to follow this tutorial or try to make your own maps, I'd love to see what you come up with using this technique. And yeah, if you like my video, please subscribe, and I'm hoping to do more tutorials in the future. And thank you.